Good morning. We are live here on WBTV with Facebook, and any way you can stream us here. Chief Meteorologist Al Conklin, along with meteorologist Eric Garlick. And Eric, as I look at the big picture here with Debbie, I feel like the forecast is working out pretty much exactly like we thought it was going to. The thing made landfall, and the rain is here.
Yeah, and we're seeing it in a big way. I don't want to say I'm surprised by all the flash flood warnings, but wow, have some flash flood warnings this morning. There is a ton of them.
Yeah, this thing, made its landfall, a second U.S. landfall. Recall Monday morning, it made a landfall as a hurricane, Category 1 hurricane in Florida, and then made that second landfall in Bulls Bay, McClellanville, if you will, just northeast of Charleston, which oddly enough, as I mentioned yesterday morning, was exactly where Hurricane Hugo made landfall back in 1989, though, of course, this was a strong tropical storm, not a major hurricane. Nonetheless, it's a rainmaker.
Which Hugo has the record for highest storm surge along the East Coast in Bulls Bay. Correct. In '89.
So I believe it's 22 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
very, very impressive. But it's almost taking a similar path in a way that it's up through Florence now. And we're going to show you this. Although it's not going to go west of Charlotte like Hugo did. This is going to go east, but maybe not by very far.
Yeah, we're watching the updates from the National Hurricane Center, and we got a fresh one as of 8 o'clock to show you this morning. So let's kind of dive into this and talk about what we're going to see with this and where it's headed. So the latest on Debbie, of course, still going to bring us some very heavy rainfall and also the potential for some strong gusty winds. And, we were talking about the winds yesterday, not really being potentially being overdone by the models, but I think the winds are overperforming. We had a gust near 50 miles per hour at Charlotte Douglas International this morning. So let's talk about the track of Debbie. This is going to be meandering off to the west. So as you can see, more of a westerly component than a northerly component that we've been seeing the last couple of
model runs, really. And the official forecast track here. And again, keep in mind, this thing, everybody always thinks, I had to answer this question to my son yesterday. Everybody thinks, oh, well, the hurricane or a tropical system is a big bad system. It must be in control of everything, right? No, actually, it's just the opposite. These things are almost directionless. They are waiting for other influences around them to be picked up and basically how they get steered. So a trough, a front, if you will, is moving in from the west, also to the east. High pressure is backing toward the coast, and so the result is it's getting squeezed, and eventually it will move northward. But it's not uncommon to get these little jogs one way or another, but this is quite a sizable jog. Right now, the National Hurricane Center official track, not going to change our weather very much, but the official track actually is about 3 counties farther west than it was. It was originally Richmond County. Now it looks like it's going to be, Union County.
And that's kind of been the trend since this was developing in the Cuba area, trending a little bit further west than what the models were picking up on. And we're really starting to see the impacts here in Charlotte and kind of lining up pretty close to what we thought it was going to be looking at things yesterday and the day before. So we're going to be watching this closely as this continues to move off to the north. Now, it's going to pick up speed and it's going to weaken, but still 35 mile an hour sustained winds as it moves through the Virginia area on Friday morning. But by Friday evening, this is going to be up into the northeast and moving out of the country pretty quickly over the next 24 hours. So big changes coming our way in the next 24 to 36 hours.
Yeah, you'll see major improvement, I think, with the forecast for Friday and the upcoming weekend. But right now, we're in it with rain falling throughout a lot of our area. And we're going to talk a little bit about the intensity of the rain. It's going to rain most of the day, especially here in the metro area, maybe not so much in the foothills and the Piedmont. But again, as this thing backs west, your rain chances are going to pick up as well. It just may not be always at a really high rate. There will be times where it's fairly light. Then there will be times where it comes down very heavy. With the ground already saturated, that's when the flooding will occur.
Yeah, and this tool that we have with 4 different boxes really doing a good job emphasizing the difference that you could see in rain rates. So Union County, one of the first to see that flash flood warning this morning. Rain letting up a little bit. You can see the flag standing straight out, very strong winds. But then you look at the Queen City, you can hardly see the center city because of all the cloud cover and rain that we're seeing come down, as well as the strong winds. So very impressive rainfall rates and winds across the Queen City at this point right now.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the cameras that we're seeing here. Now, this is Briar Creek at Shamrock Drive over there in East Charlotte, and this is a typical area that floods quite often. But again, with the saturated ground already in place and the downpours that we've had here this morning, we're seeing a lot of these creek cams And they are doing exactly what they usually do in situations like that. They are flooding. So flood warning in effect for Mecklenburg County. We're seeing that right now.
Yeah, Alan, we're kind of monitoring all of your comments and stuff on Facebook. So if you're watching, feel free to leave us a message on Facebook, and we'll get to it.
Yeah, Stephanie's saying raining right now in Troutman, Statesville. Saw a comment from Hickory with some trees down.
Jackie,
also.
no power in Dallas.
Yeah, Shelby looking good right now, Monroe. So, hey, we appreciate you chiming in here. But, yeah, we're seeing your comments, and we love your reports as well. They just help us supplement the coverage here. But this is what we're seeing right now. This is the story right here. Wherever you see those orange and reds and yellows, that's rainfall that, based on what we're seeing this morning, is essentially about 1 inch per hour, maybe a little bit less than that, give or take. But every once in a while, one of these are going to come through, and we're trying to time out the next band. We've had at least one big one come through Charlotte and the metro area this morning, and now the second one is kind of catching up to that first one, and it extends all the way back almost to Shelby now. Now, Morganton, you showed that camera, really hadn't had very much rain yet, but eventually that will change, we think, as this thing continues to push northward and then westward. Eric?
Yeah, Al, and it's going to be impacting a lot of people in a big way, so this is going to be something that we're keeping a close eye on, and going to be something that we have to watch as we go through really the next 12 hours or so. So this is going to be a very slow moving system, and it's going to be something that we have to keep a close eye on.
Yeah, but in the meantime, I want to say hi to Nellie out in Indian Trail, and Barbara's watching from Albemarle, and Jan. Heavy rain and wind at the moment in China Grove. Brenda says raining here in Morganton, where she is. So, yeah, we're starting to get these reports come in big time. There you can see that rain. And this is what's interesting. You know, you and I were watching this. If you could, you put a little tracker on this, and I know you're going to, look at the expanse of the tornado watches and the flood watches and warnings all across the two Carolinas and up into Virginia.
Yeah, but Al,
really
we've been talking about this all morning and how impressed we are that look at how far this band of heavy rainfall sets up. So you got to go from the coast. I mean, it's probably further than this out of the coast, realistically.
Yeah. The radar can only see about 200 miles out to sea. So when you look at that, Eric kind of just, put a little line on that. It's essentially about a 500-mile band of rain, and this is tropical moisture. I mean, that's coming right off of the Gulf Stream, and as you do, you're just wringing this water out, and that's why you get these big downpours. Now, we're fortunate. We're sort of in a different setup than what they are to the east. We've been watching that red boxed area. We've been watching all these tornado warnings start to fly out towards the Raleigh area. A lot of tornadoes yesterday, or several tornadoes, I should say, at least in the Wilmington area. Now we're seeing more up into the coastal plain, Rocky Mount, Wilson, Edgecombe County, out towards Durham. So it's a big problem. They're getting the rain too, but they're also getting tornado warnings. We're not dealing with that here at all.
And if you lived anywhere where tropical systems affect you, you know the top right quadrant is where we have the tornado threat, and that's what we're seeing happen with this system. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that. These red lines that I kind of drew on here showing where the winds are coming from. So southeast wind from Wilmington up toward Raleigh, and then it turns east from Raleigh over toward Greensboro, and then it turns northeast from Greensboro down toward Charlotte. So the reason why we have a tornado threat with this system really has to do with shear. It's shear more than anything. And what is shear? It's the changing of winds with height and direction and or speed. So you got the winds at the surface in the red arrows, but you notice those streaming triangles, that's the upper level winds. That's the jet stream coming up over top of it, and that's where you get the difference in speed and direction, and that's where you get the shear from, the twisting, and that's why that tornado threat forms in the top right quadrant or the upper right quadrant of these systems as they move on land.
Yeah, because right now the storm itself is down near Florence, so it makes sense that, okay, northeast quadrant of the storm, where the worst of the weather is right now, we're all getting in on that rain, but where is the strongest shear? And as you just pointed out, it's up there in that coastal plain east of Raleigh and west of Kinston and Greenville. So that's why that tornado watch extends all the way up into Virginia, because the same dynamic is likely going to be at play as we go through the day today. Now, where we are, it's much more of a different situation. The wind is out of the northeast here, and that's why those bands are going from northeast to southwest. So they're starting up in Rowan and Iredell and walking down towards Cherokee and Gaffney and Shelby. So that's how the rain is working here.
Yeah, and it's one of those components, and we're kind of seeing this transition into an extra tropical system, which it just kind of spreads out. It's not that real tight center of circulation. No. but it, it almost enhances the amount of rain that you see because it's spread out over such a big area. It's a slow-moving storm. It's covering a big area, and that's why we're seeing these rainfall rates really start to tick up to 4 or 5 inches already in some areas.
Yeah, and again, we're not done with the rain. We're going to see rain off and on through the day today. Again, some of it will be heavy at times. Sometimes it won't be quite so heavy. But all of those counties that you see shaded in green now, that's Lincoln, Gaston, York, down to Chester, and all counties east are in a flood warning right now. Now, they've dropped eastern Lancaster and Chesterfield, at least at the moment, because, again, the flooding has sort of subsided there because where are the bands of rain? They're up to the north now and back to the west. But we will see as what's left of Debbie makes her approach, we could see additional bands come through, and certainly that's what our expectation is.
Yeah, and a lot of these flood warnings go through the morning and into the afternoon hours. You can see that flash flood warning that says Thursday at 8 a.m. That's the one Al was just talking about that has expired. So this is going to be a common sight through the rest of the day today, really, with these heavier rain bands setting up and just one after another going over the same areas, and that's why we see that flash flooding. Here's what it looks like on Futurecast.
Yeah, there are 100 counties in North Carolina, and I'd say probably at least a quarter, if not a third of them are under some sort of a warning right now. So this is a pretty impressive system. There you go. You can see the Futurecast. Now, this only runs out 12 hours. This runs out through 8 o'clock tonight. So, again, from time to time, you get into the yellows and the reds. Other times, you see the lighter greens. So at no point does it really look like it totally quits raining, or at least the threat of rain. But there are times where the rain intensity will back down. Other times, it will come up in a big way, and that could be a big problem for you if you're under one of those downpours. Frank Hightower, good friend out in Wadesboro. I want to say hi to Frank. Worked in the DA's office out there in Anson County for a long time. Pam, good morning up in Statesville. Britt and Charlotte, hey, we're glad you're with us as well here. Courtney says off High Rock Lake up there without power right now. Been out since 5 a.m. Hopefully that gets better for you right now.
Power outage in Waxhaw, it looks like, as well. So not going to be surprised with power outage as well. Winds gusting up near, again, 50 miles an hour at the airport this morning. So that's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on. But keep in mind, too, the lighter greens that are showing up on the Futurecast there, just because the intensity is not as high, the flash flooding risk is going to go up because the areas that are seeing the heavy rainfall now aren't going to be able to take much more rainfall as the day goes on. So we'll have to watch out for these flash flood warnings to continue. Here's a look at radar estimates. I think this is underdone by an inch or so.
Yeah, this is definitely underdone, but that's not atypical for a tropical system. And I think you made a point there, Eric, that the heavy rain, it's feeding into the creeks and streams now. The main rivers, though, they'll also be rising as we go through the day today. The excessive rainfall outlook is on the high side. Wherever you're in the red, that's at least a 50% chance. Good news is the weekend gets much better here. Even tomorrow gets much better, but the weekend is looking good.
Yeah, here's a quick look at that 7-day forecast. We're going to keep you updated on air with these cut-ins through the morning as well. So if you need more updates, you can find us there. Shoot us a message on Facebook and whatnot. But there you have it. Some pretty nice weather setting up for the weekend. Thanks for joining us. You can see us on air for a cut-in.
And don't forget, download our free WBTV weather app and team coverage on WBTV News today at noon. All right, have a great morning. Be safe out there.